pretty obvious to understand why. Um, I've been in Australia now like 16 years. Obviously supported Liverpool all my life.
Excellent. Well, we're both baldy cop-outs, mate. So
Absolutely, man, absolutely.
just just look a little different and speak a little different. Well, no, mate. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I know it's a strange time for you over in WA. I think I reached out to you. You reached out to me. I'm like, this is a pretty cool, friendly dude, and he's one of them. He's a true Scouse. And so I thought, well, like people always telling me I'm full of shit because I'm from Sydney, Australia, and I don't know anything about the football club, or I don't have that same affiliation, obviously, as someone from there. So I was like, you know what? You seem to share very similar ideas that I do. So I'm like, we all can't be full of shit. And very interesting time for you to join me, obviously, with all the news with Arnie Slot. So I'd love to get all your intake on mate, anything you want to talk about. What do you think? Like, how do you think Liverpool went this season? What do you think's going to happen going forward now with the news? Where do you think? I mean, what do you think has happened this season? Why do you think this season's gone so wrong? I'm particularly interested in. And where do you think they should go for next season? And what should they do for next season?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I guess we can start off at the beginning of. Let's go with like last year, because last year was so amazing. I think we all came in and kind of expected a bit of a drop off. Like no one believed we were going to do anywhere near as well as we did, and then Slot came in, smashed it in his first year, and we won the Premier League. We won number 20, and we were all laughing. Going into transfer window, we got Frimpong, Kerkez, Wirtz, Isaac, Ekitike, all these players came in and we're like, oh my God, this is it. We're going again. And then I guess the first like 7 or 8 games, we got a bit lucky with a few results. We were like, oh, it's okay. Everyone just needs to like gel, and then away we go. And unfortunately, as the season progressed and the results just gradually got worse, this gelling that we were all waiting and praying and just naturally thought was going to happen just never happened. And then after a few games after that, and just as we went on that like 12-game disastrous run, we all were looking around going, well, what's the answer? Why is it not clicking? And I think, unfortunately, as we got to the point where it feels like it's starting to be a manager issue and not just a player issue, especially after some of the way he was setting up games around. I think the PSV one was the biggest. We can't be doing this. Like PSV are an okay team, you know what I mean? And if that was away at their ground, then maybe you take it on the chin. But to lose, 4-1 at home to them, and to play the way we did, that's major red flags, And then the results after that didn't really get any better. We got into like the new year, and then it was like, okay, we're getting a little bit of form back. We're not losing any games, like yada yada yada. And then we're like, okay, if we carry on this, we might finish okay. We might start looking okay, and then nothing. We had some good games, and then we mostly had terrible games, and then we had even worse games. You know what I mean? Like some of them were shocking, just absolutely abysmal. And then, not to mention the way we were just taking the lead and then just giving it up. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's not the Liverpool. Even like the Liverpool I grew up with wasn't like so consistently giving away the lead that much. You know what I mean? And this is going back to like Rodgers and Hodgson days, and like those are dark days. But I'd never seen anything like this. There was no grit, no determination. There was no. It feels horrible to say, but like there was no leader in the team that was grabbing everybody else by the scruff of the neck, And it got to the point where everyone was like, "I think the manager needs to go." And then we had the rumours around Alonso and Areola and Enrique. So everyone was like buzzing with excitement that like, okay, maybe we can get one of them in, but we'll gotta wait for the news for Slot. And there was rumours floating around that it wasn't happening. So I think the dread started setting in for myself and a few others. Like, I don't know if I could do another season like this, especially for ourselves living in Australia, man. Sometimes we're getting up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning or staying up till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night to watch the games. And to be honest, man, if Slot had stayed, I don't know if I would have bothered, to be honest. And then we got the news, Champions League final day of all days, that Slot was gone. And we're like, thank God. Like, you got to give the man his credit for winning us the league, but I think the way this season unfolded, you could just tell he wasn't like Liverpool's manager. And then I think the real big thing really was, I'd never heard Anfield boo, don't think.
No.
And that was
quiet.
That's horrendous. And quiet, yeah. It's just, yeah. So I think unfortunately for Slot, he had to go in the end, and I'm glad it was amicable. I think what should have happened is they probably should have announced it before the final game, so we could get his flowers at Anfield the same way Salah and Robbo did. And same thing for Konate. Now that we know Konate's going on a free again, and obviously I put out the video about that because, man, it's 4, 5, 6 players now in recent years who've all left on frees. A year, if we had sold Konate last year, Premier League winners, we could have got 40, 50 mil for him maybe. And now we're getting nothing. So that's another player we've got to try and replace. And then obviously this Iraola news came out, and I'm happy about that, man. I'm really happy about that. There's a few people floating around saying, like, what's his credentials for doing it? And this is fair enough. Fair enough. He hasn't really got any trophies to brag about, I guess, but a style of football and the way the Bournemouth players speak of him so highly regarded, that I think it's a good appointment. I think if we can get back to that attack and pressing style of football, I said to my dad, even if all he does is he just gets the players running and pressing again, that's going to be such a big improvement on this year, because I think that was one of our major downfalls. But yeah, only future to tell, man. What about yourself? What's your thoughts and feelings on Everton?
Man, I feel like I had half of Liverpool and England crap on me when, after the first 5 games, I said, no, I'm Slot out. And it's like, mate, are you smoking? Like, what are you smoking in Australia? We're top of the table, win the first 5 games. I'm just like, the wheels are gonna come off. I know it is. I can feel it, because the games that we won, probably felt like the other team were a bit more intimidated. We were very lucky, and it just it felt to me that there was no fighters in the team. So like the Diaz's and the ones that we've been used to, even Nunez. I mean, for the lack of goals, you could never bag him out for a lack of effort.
Yeah,
the pressing from the front, it was a good transition from Firmino. Obviously we lost, Jota and Quansah and Trent Alexander-Arnold. But I mean, for me, the first 5 games, I mean, you could probably compare it to like March the year before, where the wheels started coming off. But for me, it was like we just had replaced a team that could identify with a certain way of playing. They were playing with heart and fight and determination and commitment. And it just felt like he stripped that out to make us play more like we were no longer fighters, but technicians. You know? And Liverpool's an emotional city. It's an emotional club. My best mate's from there. It's not just this. It just felt robotic, and I just thinking this is just not. I'm not identifying, and I'm not even just. I mean, I've been following Liverpool for 30 years, and I go back to 1991 or 1992, 1993. Around that time when I started watching, it was the last time we had won. Like that big gap where we would have been in the Premier League for like 30 years or something, right?
Yeah.
So 20, whatever it was, and for me, it was like, no, there's something. I could watch Liverpool lose. I've watched Liverpool lose a lot. I mean, the whole 30 years, I felt like majority has been disappointment than success. I mean, Gerrard would win us the Champions League on his own, and everyone would pretend it was Rafa. So, I mean, that's all right. I mean, I mean, for me, the best days obviously with Jurgen Klopp. But what I could see with Slot was like, this guy is just coming in as like this coach that's just he's not connecting with the fans. His message not being connected, and the players that we had lost, I think, were a big part of why we won the league.
Yeah, 100%.
And
Especially, sorry, man. Yeah, especially like as you were talking about, man, that fight, that determination, those real grifters in the team who would just, if nothing else, put the effort in. You know what I mean?
that's it.
Like one of the players who, over the years, probably like has gone back a bit, but like he wasn't like our best ever player. But I go back to days of like like
Jordan Henderson,
or you go back even further. We talk about like Lucas Levi or Dirk Kuyt, just players who like might not have been the best footballer, but god damn, did they put the effort in? They fought like they fought like local lads would. You know what I mean? And I'm just after Henderson got off, and Firmino and Mane all got off, and then Diaz, and then all these other players who like
Diaz.
I put the effort in, mate.
Man, I didn't understand why would and look, and I believe some of the problems were not just Slot. Even though I'm his number one critic, I just don't like the guy. Just generally, I can't. I'm not going to sit here and go. I just didn't like him. I didn't like his head. I just didn't like the way he was playing. For me, like his press conferences would kill me. I just have to be honest. I can't lie. I'm not going to bullshit. I just generally didn't like the guy.
And to be honest, man, you are not the only person who started feeling like that. I was like, when he first came in and he started doing his press conferences and he was honest to like almost to a fault, I was like, I like that. I like the honesty. But then the longer it went on,
it was excuses.
It just became these excuses. And I was like, Jesus, man, lie a bit. Tell some porkies, you know what I mean? And especially around some of the younger lads, like I felt so bad for Calvin Ramsey. Some of the way he was talking about Calvin Ramsey, it was like, mate, this player, even if you do play him, he's never done a play for you. He might play for the club, but he's not done a play for you. You know what I mean? Like, because like you look at the youngster final against Chelsea, like we played teenagers in that team against Chelsea, and it was Jurgen Klopp who somehow told them players, "This is a cup final, but you're just as good as this Chelsea team." You know what I mean? Like, and you just didn't see that type of pick me up attitude from Slot.
He wasn't a manager; he was just a coach. And so you've taken over a team that could, from a manager that could build relationships and was more of a manager, which I think there's some problems went on with who's that, Edwards and stuff. I think Klopp was, he was the man in that. He was the man.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
He was the man. And so he had that, you go from a manager to this, for me, Arne Slot's probably a really, really good coach.
Yeah.
But I think he needs to coach a certain, it's just not, it's almost robotic. And honestly, Miles, it reflected his personality, and that was just dull and boring, and that's just what it felt to me. Probably a great coach, but yeah.
And I think a lot of people have come out and said that. I think, especially now that he's officially gone, I think a lot of people have said he's definitely a coach, whereas Liverpool needs a manager. They need
a manager.
Jurgen Klopp, Bob Paisley, Bill Shankly, Joe Fagan type attitude of my way or the highway type stuff. And obviously we don't know what he was like behind closed doors, but just judging from what we can see on the pitch side, if that's anything that is like behind those closed doors, you could understand why, one, the players aren't motivated by him, but also they're not fearful of his reaction after the game if they play bad. Whereas I feel like not only does it feels bad going back to Klopp all the time, but you knew Klopp can motivate you, but you knew you didn't want to be on his bad side at the same time, and I think that's what makes really good managers. You go back to like some of the best, like Ferguson, Mourinho's, stuff like that, and like not only would they motivate their players, but you knew the players didn't want to be on the bad side. And I think one of the biggest things for them, and Klopp was good at this as well, was taking the blame. I feel like not only did Slot not really take the blame ever, really, he'd also make excuses, and I feel like the players got the biggest brunt of that blame. And they were to blame for good portions of the season, how it played out and the performances. But, I feel like Slot could have taken a bit more, this game's on me, I should have done this, I should have done that, whereas I don't really ever feel like he did that,
Yeah, no, I agree, man, and 100%. And the thing is, once the players don't have that fear factor, once the players, I mean, I don't think any of them liked him. I mean, do you think Salah would have stayed another year if Klopp was there?
Probably.
Even like there was problems with Klopp and Salah at certain moments, right? That's not. And I even remember predicting when when Mane, I'm like, he's going to get pissed. It must be this autism thing that I've got, man, where I just pick up these weird signals, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, you know what? He's gonna have a fight with Salah because he just seemed like, why isn't he passing? Why isn't he passing? And those sorts of cracks you could see for me in the first 5 games. That, I mean, what's this love affection with Gakpo? It just, the play, once players start thinking there's favoritism and that there's no consequences for a bad game that you're still going to play. Yeah. I even thought that a bit of that was creeping in with Van Dijk, to be fair. I mean, I thought some of Van Dijk's performances this year were horrendous. The idea of Slot dropping her, I think Van Dijk could have kicked Slot's wife in the head and still, and we're still starting, man.
It definitely became like that, man. It was like Van Dijk became the oldest player to ever play every game in the league because Slot wouldn't drop him, and it's understandable to a extent. It's your captain, and you don't really want to drop your captain. But at the end of the day, bad performances deserve actions. You know what I mean? Like, it's like when your kid does something naughty, you got to discipline your child. You know what I mean? To let them know that they've done something that they shouldn't do. And I feel like players are almost in a similar situation where if they perform bad, you got to let them know they perform bad. If they continue to perform bad, then they're not playing. Like back in the day, like these players who's acted out and performed consistently poor got chucked into reserve teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas you don't see that anymore now.
No. And now they're all Instagram celebrities as well. So you got to manage really big egos. And
yeah, 100%.
And I think that the most underestimated skill in football management is man management. And I think Slot just did not have that. I think he had the technical side of the game.
Yeah.
But the man, and I think Liverpool, like the thing that I remember putting up a post a while back, Miles, was, is Liverpool capable of now, with the infrastructure they have in place, to have the balls to actually hire a manager and not just a technical coach? Because you're saying, for me, it's Liverpool, like you said, man, like the Bob Paisleys, the Bill Shankleys, these big personalities. They're not just coaches. Even Roy Keane would say that Ferguson didn't even get on the training pitch very often. He didn't take control of the training pitch. He had his coaches for that. They don't need him for that. They need him for the man management side that the coaches wouldn't be able to do and control the game, obviously. And I just think that, for me, I would say that Pep Guardiola technically is probably a better coach than Klopp. But Klopp, hands down, is the best man management since Alex Ferguson, without even a shadow of a doubt. And I think that Pep Guardiola couldn't have done what Klopp done, but Klopp could have done what Pep Guardiola done at Man City.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you there, man. Like I don't think there's many people who could have done what Klopp did.
And you could see the improvement, Miles. Almost, even though we finished 8th in the first season, you could see the direction. You could see the heavy metal football. You could even later on he would turn it down a bit. I mean, towards that sort of 19-20 season. But for me, anyway, but he would tone it down in times. He would control the squad. It wasn't just, but you could see that there was a difference between when we had that Bosnian guy as a assistant manager, the brain, and then when Pep Linders would get more of an influence over the squad. But needless to say, you could see improvements. I mean, for me, Slot came in and it just kind of gradually won the Premier League. And like, would Slot have won the Premier League the year that Klopp won it?
No, probably not. You know what I mean? Like, I think what you saw with Slot in his first season, and this is obviously more of a hindsight thing, is him come in and not wanting to remove Klopp's system straight away and just tweaking it It was those tweaks and everything that made us win the league, and players doing better, getting better stats, like Mo Salah, for example, you know what I mean, and Gravenberch and that. And then as the season progressed, and I wasn't really thinking about it at the time because I was so made up that we'd just won the league. But then, as I say, hindsight, you see that when he starts implementing his style and his tactics, results aren't going as well, performances aren't going as well. But you don't think about it because you've already won the league. And then, yeah, man, I just... Look, I wish him all the best. I really do. And whatever he does, and I think wherever he goes, he's going to be a fantastic coach.
Of course.
In pretty much any league that's not the Premier League, because I think Premier League needs managers, not coaches.
And do you think Ariola's at that? I mean, he definitely plays better football than I would say now that Pep Guardiola's gone. And even Pep's football, I mean, for me, it was good at times, but for me, Jurgen Klopp had that. For me, his football was, even when we lost, it was entertaining.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, do you think Ariola's going to have that same sort of high press? And can he get the players to do what he wants? High press, get the Gegenpress style, the pressing from the front.
I'd like to hope.
Relentless football.
I'd like to hope so, because you look at his Bournemouth team and what they've achieved with the players they've lost as well. Yeah. I'd like to hope he can come implement that into our players and upgrade some of the wingers, especially. You know what I mean? But I think only time's gonna tell there, and you got to look at like Ariola. Like, is he the right man for the job? And obviously, only time will tell. Or is he being appointed because he already knows Hughes? You know what I mean? And Hughes thinks he's going to be able to do a job there. Like, are we appointing another coach or are we appointing a manager? And if we're appointing another coach, does that come down to an ego thing where Edwards and Hughes they don't want this coach to come in or manager to come in and suddenly have more power than them, especially with the fans? Because I think that's one of the big headbutting reasons apparently between Edwards and Klopp was, after time, Klopp was so likeable that the fans just gravitated and everyone gravitated towards him, and he gained so much power that I think maybe Edwards and Hughes are like scared of losing the power. They want to be the ones to make the decisions. So, and with Ariola, obviously not official, but he's obviously the front runner. I think only time will tell if he's appointed and what type of manager or coach he'll be.
Yeah, I mean, even like Rio, not playing as much. I mean, it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why this kid wouldn't play? Like every time he comes, the fans would. I've never heard fans at Liverpool. And first of all, it feels more like a cathedral there these days than a stadium. Yeah. And second thing is, I have never heard in 30 years an Anfield crowd boo at a substitution.
Oh God, no! That was the first time I've ever heard it, and
I was like, I would have gone home then and not come back. I mean, this has never happened, dude. Like,
no, and I think a little bit came out around that maybe Rio was actually signaling he wanted to come off because he had cramp or something. Which, if that's the reason, then fair enough. I can understand it. But like you've been bragging that this youngster Rio has got the most minutes of any youngster in the league, and that might be statistically true, but it's just not. It's just not like what the fans want to hear. You know what I mean? And I can almost try and play devil's advocate as to his reason why is if you go back to the days of like Michael Owen, for example, of how young he was when he started and how old he was when his knees started going out and his injuries, Yeah, if they're doing something like that where they're managing his minutes so he doesn't become the new Michael Owen essentially, then fair enough. If that's the reason behind it. But if that's the reason behind it, come out and tell us that's the reason behind it. Don't come out and say Rio's a Gakpo replacement or substitute or alternative that you're never going to use apart from the last 10 minutes of a game, 5 minutes of a game.
But what about Miles? What about James Milner's knees? I mean, he started at 15, 16. He get playing.
That's true, but I think James Milner's an odyssey, isn't he? And I wish him all the best because I think news just came out he's officially retired. So all the best to James Milner there as well.
All the best
what a water man! if I like with my kids, if I ever tell them to look at a professional, I'm gonna go, you want to be a professional? Follow
James
James
Milner.
Milner, because man, the fact he was as old as he was and he's still beating everyone else in the beat test and stuff like that, like
It was a Superman, and also same thing.
100%.
Even Henderson was. I mean, this is what I'm saying. I mean, there was a Liverpool identity that Klopp had. He wanted fighters. It was it was clear what he wanted, and it was clear what he got out of his players.
Yeah.
For me, the thing for me, what lost it for me was Slot. I don't know what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so that's for me where it fell apart. I mean, I think we still need wingers. I still think we need a 6. I definitely feel like now we might even need. I mean, Leone's untried and tested. I know we've got that Jaco, whatever his name is, coming in.
Yeah.
There's rumors of Dumfries. I mean, see, the thing that killed it for me too, where I started turning on Slot big time, even though I was Slot out very early on in the season. But when he took Wirtz and made him worse, when he took Isak, okay, Isak had his injuries, but he just felt like you brought in the best super talent center attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
Playing out and left. It's like just
so, man, it made no sense, you know what I mean? We brought Isaac in and like we knew about Isaac's injury already, so we were like, okay, fair enough. He won't get off to a flying start. So that's obviously why we got Ekitike. So we're like, okay, fair enough. But then you brought in Wirtz, who's like, we pinched him from Man City and Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
And apparently that was because like Slot or whoever told him this is how we're going to play it, and he was so convinced by that he came to Liverpool, and then there's no way he ends up playing the exact way he was told he was going to end up playing. Otherwise, there's no way he would have came.
Yeah,
I understand, like people call him a flop, and I get that to a point, but you got to understand, like he's not been played in his natural position very often, and even still, he has still had really good moments, and I think obviously don't want to like stat boost or anything like that, but some of the stuff he was doing, if other players had a bit more technical finesse to them, he would have got so many more assists.
He would have. I mean, Salah,
stuff like that, you know.
Salah was always trying to pinch the assist or the goals, you know, and
yeah.
But I didn't understand the Isak. I know you got to go soon. The Isak. I mean, I don't really understand that transfer. I mean, for me, you get an Isak. We needed a number 6. I mean, now what do we do if we get number 6 in? But Miles, you have to leave.
Yeah, I got about 5 minutes, I reckon.
Okay.
But I agree that even if like the only thing we do in this transfer window is get a 6, I think that would improve us vastly. And the mad thing is,
we need a winger now.
As soon as Fabinho left, we were like, we need a new one. Mm-hmm. We need a new Fabinho, a new Mascherano, something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, obviously we were going for that Zubimendi. That fell through. He went to Arsenal, so and then obviously we had the massive thing with Caicedo and who's the other lad? Lafia as well, who ends up both going to bloody Chelsea. But look, man, I've got to shoot, so we can talk about this a bit later, whenever.
Sure.
It's been a pleasure, Andy.
Thanks, Miles. I really appreciate it, man.
Always, man. You have a good day. And,
you too.
Up the Rem, bro.
That's it, man. I'll catch you in the next one.
See you, man.